We'll get started because today we have a super, super special guest. And guys, I have been so freaking excited for this call because I don't really know much about all this amazing coach's secrets and tricks and tips and all that stuff. So that's why I have a whole bunch of notes in front of me. But we're lucky enough to have Superstar Diamond. I believe you're three-time top 10 coach, Ashley Smith, with us. Ashley, why don't you kind of start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got started with Beachbody, and then we can kind of go from there and open it up for questions.
Yeah, totally. Hey guys, I'm so excited to talk to y'all. I'm like looking at all the names. I'm like, I don't know many of you. I see like a couple of girls in my upline in here, which is fun. So my name is Ashley. I started coaching. It's been like 5.5 months now. It was November of 2014. So I was teaching full time. I was actually teaching middle school Spanish at the time, and I was not really looking for this opportunity. I didn't even know this existed, actually, to be honest. I just knew that I hated I hated what I was doing, and not that I hated teaching. I just kind of was falling out of love with teaching in a classroom. I love teaching. It's what I still get to do now on this platform, but I was finding myself in a really kind of deep depression. I just was not excited about what I was doing every single day. My husband and I were arguing all the time, and I just had kind of just started to build up all these just negative habits. And so we knew that we wanted to have a baby. And so at that time I was still teaching, but I was like, oh my gosh, I have got to do something different. Like something has to change. So I started researching. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to try something new. I'm going to like create a business out of nothing. And so I was like, okay, what could I sell on Etsy? What could could I become a personal trainer? I liked fitness. Could I do interior decorating? I like to decorate. And so, I started going back to looking at all these things and realized that a lot of that would, still require school and money spent to get certified and things like that. And so, none of those were going to work. My husband would come home from, work, and he would see me like in the garage, like spray painting like cans and vases, trying to like make something out of nothing to like sell it online. And it was like, honey, I love you, but this is not going to be something that's going to be a substantial income for you. So, it was hilarious. But so I wasn't finding anything that really just like spoke to me until I had been invited to the coaching opportunity like multiple times. And looking back now, I legit had no idea what they were talking about, had no idea what they were inviting me to, didn't really understand or even realize that what they were sharing was about being part of a company. I just didn't get it. So I had said no multiple times. And at that time I had been just now starting to work out at home with a program called Tone It Up. Like, are there any other Tone It Up girls? You guys know that account? So I was doing some online workouts at home just for the first time, but still kind of going to the gym, pedaling around, wasting a ton of money on a gym membership. And it just, we were really inconsistent, still, my husband and I were. And so this girl reached out to me, and I finally, for whatever reason, said, okay, fine, tell me about this. So I joined in a sneak peek, and it was Micah Folsom's sneak peek. And she's actually not my coach, but she's like 3 coaches above me who I've learned mostly everything from. But so I joined her sneak peek, and it was her and Tara Bilek, if you guys know both of those coaches. And I'm like listening, and all of a sudden Tara starts telling her story about how that year she was going to be leaving her teaching job, and she was in the car, and she's like bawling in the car, just looking outside, and I see like a mailbox, and she's like painting this story of getting to be the one that drops her kids off at the school bus. And I just remember like crying and just feeling like I could literally see myself in her shoes. And so that was kind of the moment for me when I was like, okay, I need to just try this. Like I'm just so devastated at what I have to do every single day. I'm driving an hour and a half to work every day. I'm exhausted, barely getting to the gym. It's negatively impacting my own just self-confidence and self-belief and my relationship with my husband. So we researched the heck out of Beachbody, had no idea anything more than Shanti and Insanity, hadn't heard anything about anything else. And so I jumped all in after we really researched the company and stuff. And so I became a coach, and I kind of joined into an accountability group right then. And so within just like a couple weeks, so much has started to change. I had obviously started implementing the coaching related things, not just the workouts. And so my husband, alongside me, we started working out a little bit more. I started reading personal development. And I came from a family that never communicated about anything. You know, we brushed a bunch of stuff under the rug. We never talked about things. It was very much like passive aggression and defense was like our mechanism. And I knew no different. And so that was what I kind of carried into my marriage with me. And so I had started reading personal development and realizing, like, literally in a couple of weeks, so much started to change. My marriage was so much better. Our relationship was so much better. My husband was like, what is happening to you? Who are you? Like, who did I marry? And so, you know, my transformation that really started and really made me believe so much about what this could be was really the personal development side of things. Is I realized how much everything that I was doing as a coach, even that early on within my first month, was changing everything about me. The way I looked at myself in the mirror, I finally had some self-confidence. I finally believed in myself a little bit. You know, I never had anyone tell me they were proud of me. You know, I kind of was just, I'm the oldest of three. I was the perfect one, you know, the one that kind of had all this pressure and stipulation on her. And so I kind of just did what I always thought I was going to do. And then it kind of came to a point where I hated what I was doing and I hated who I was. And so, you know, becoming a coach really changed everything for me. It just created a lot of belief in myself, and it's changed and saved my marriage. And it's brought, you know, the most incredible friendships into my life too. And been something now that obviously, you know, I left my teaching job in about 9 months of coaching and been here ever since. And I absolutely love it. So that's a super long-winded version of how I got started. So.
I love it. I love that it's personal development. I love that you researched the company before you started. You don't really hear that a lot, which I think is really cool.
My husband's a big researcher. He's like, we got to make sure they got good products, that they're for real, that they're legit. And I'm like, okay, honey, you just tell me when I can press sign up and then I'll be good.
So smart. I love it. Okay, guys, you guys can go ahead and take yourself off mute and ask your questions.
Hey, Ashley, it's Whitney.
Hey, Whitney.
Hey, I had a question about when you bring on your new coaches. I'm assuming you kill it in SD points as far as like bringing them on, getting them to set SD right away, and then continuing to have them hit SD. So what does that process look like when they first come aboard your team?
Yeah. So gosh, every year I've gone through different ways that I do things, but I'm like really loving what I'm doing right now. So when my girls come in, so obviously, you know, I do forms and things on Instagram. I run my business primarily on Instagram. So they fill out the form, they get more information, they're ready to go, they sign up. And so from there, then I send them an email, and many of you guys might do this same thing. They get an email from me that's, you know, talking to them. It's like, hey, welcoming. It's just a video from me and a couple little words like, hey, it's me. I'm so excited you're here. Tell me more about what kind of coach you want to be. And so I make sure I know right then that I know what kind of energy I'm going to give them. And so I go through the 3 different types of coaches. You know, are you here because you just want to enjoy the discount and be a part, you know, be really working on your own journey? Are you here because you kind of want to see this as a hobby? You know, you want me to train you a little bit, but you don't want a lot of pressure. You know, you really want to work on your own journey still and have that option to build when it's time. Or are you like all in, like you see what I'm doing and you're like, teach me how to do that. So I send them that video and I, you know, hear back from them. So they send me back, they say, I want to be a hobby coach or a business builder, or I just want to be here for the discount. Please add me into your groups. So then we go from there, whatever option they share. If they say that they want to be a hobby coach or a business builder, then I tell them, awesome. Let me see, I'm going to pull up my email actually, so I can tell you a little bit more specific while I'm talking. So when they tell me that they want to be a business builder or a hobby coach, I tell them, okay, perfect, you know, let's do this. And I also just kind of say, hey, you know, I know this is going to be overwhelming. You're going to get a lot of information. You know, our team is big on resources, but I want you to know that I'm here for you. And I just, you know, talk to them a little bit about kind of I'm not your boss. You're the CEO of your business, but I'm going to be here to support you the whole time. And so that's what this is going to look like. I then give them like a little box here of all of our calls. So they know, you know, important to be on national wake up calls, the links for our weekly team calls, and then like any additional little calls or things that they're able to be a part of. And so then I have them fill out a quick start form. So this quick start form then takes them through 5 easy steps of getting started as a new coach. So I'm going to pull it up so I can, do you want me to share it? Is that helpful? If I just like share it, can I do that? Okay, let me see.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Let's see here. I'm so technologically challenged. Okay, can you guys see that? This quick start form? Okay. So I'm like, hey, like quick start training. So this has been so awesome because what I used to do was drop them in, they sign up as a coach, and then I sent them through like a really big 14-day training, which is awesome. They still get all the information, but they were getting really overwhelmed and lost. And it was like, they didn't feel like they even got started for so long that they would kind of lose that excitement. So I'm going to have to like fake some answers here to go through this. So they get into this quick start here. And so they get a little video from me. I'm like, hey, let's get you all started. I'm so excited for you. Let's talk about what's next. So they're, they're giving me their information, and let's see if this will let me through to the next line. Okay. So then we're going through and I'm talking, step one is about being a product of their product. Okay, so I'm having them go through and I'm literally just talking about, and all these videos are 5 minutes or less. So just very, very quickly, my main goal and my new coaches getting started this year, which has been really awesome and productive, has been just them feeling like they are accomplishing something in the beginning and like they're getting started successfully and being able to start. Because my main goal for my new coaches is I want them to go through this, and then next I want them just to get started sharing. So we talk about being a product of the product and what that looks like. I go down, I give them a couple templates of how they can quickly go ahead and share about what they're doing. And here I can show you an example of that as well. Let's see if it'll show up. So I just make them a quick little quote. They go in and they put some some of their own information in there. I tell them where to put a little email box, and they're ready to go. They've got something tangible, quick, easy to go ahead and share. Say like, oh my gosh, this is super, super scary for me, but I'm so excited to share with you a little bit more about what I'm doing. Thank you so much in advance for supporting me. And if you see anything that you like, drop your email. Okay, so I give them that. And then we go through, I do a checkbox just so like they can mentally check it off. I know I'm a checkboxer. So step 2, we go through social media. I do something very, very basic. I really go through, okay, here's your Instagram. Please go to your page. Make sure you've got a good profile picture. Make sure you change your bio so that it looks like it's not saying, hi, I'm a Beachbody coach. I give them a couple tips of how to switch some things up just to clean it up. Because again, I don't want to be bombarded with all the Instagram questions. That's not what's important. So I give them just a little bit so they feel like they're getting a little bit of cleaning things up, but then they're reining them back in to focus on the important stuff, not all the fluffy Instagram stuff. I drop in the color wheel. If you guys know, I created this for leadership like 3 or 4 years ago. And this is something that still works for my coaches. So I have them download this and I have them fill in, things about themselves on the color wheel, because I want them to remember that while they're becoming a Beachbody coach, that's amazing, but that is not who you are. You are so many other things in that. And so this is still one of the top things that I do with my coaches, because they so easily forget, and it's easy to forget now, even 5 years in, because I'm so used to sharing workouts and things, but there's so many other things about you. So they're going through, they're checking all this off. Instagram bio, and make sure yes, I've changed my profile picture. Yes, I've changed my bio and just made a little mission statement. And here we go from there. So that helps them a little bit. Okay, step 3, how do I sign somebody up? Again, one of the main number 1 new coach questions we get, right? So again, just a quick little video that's already pre-recorded from YouTube to show them how do they go to share a cart, how do they sign somebody up, what that looks like, and then they check off when they're done. They take a little tour of their website and make sure they click off, direct deposit and everything. Just simple, simple things. Step 4 is talking all about getting in the club, Success Club. So a quick little 5-minute video about what Success Club is, why it's important, how you do that, what that means for your business as a new coach, and why that's important. I make them then, before they can submit this, they have to add 15 people here on their dream team list. Not 100, nothing super scary, just 15 people that they know that they could reach out to. So I've written my people there. And then we go into, this is just a little bit about like, what does it look like to start my first group kind of thing. And then step 5 is just resources and apps that we use. So I get questions a ton from new coaches of like, what are your favorite apps? How do I do this? How do I do that? So before they can even bombard me with that question, I make sure that they have everything that they need right there. So I go through our Google Drive, which I have a whole Google Drive of resources for them. So they get the link to that, and they're seeing all this stuff in there. They're seeing all the different apps that I use for social media. They're just getting little glimpses of things. I'm making sure that they've added themselves. Instead of me adding them, I want them to actually personally add themselves to the groups, because that makes me know, okay, they're taking the next steps. I now see them adding themselves. And then that's when I know I can be almost on the lookout for their form, when I know that they've added themselves to the groups. I see that that's one of the last steps in my page. And so I know that they're coming to me and they're going to be ready for a one-on-one call after this. So the bonus step that I have them do is understanding their power hour. This is like a little bit longer of a video, but I have them save this. They print out their BAT trackers, and I used to do a bunch of really fun and really different ones, but honestly, they love the one that Beachbody made for us. They love the BAT. It's so simple and self-explanatory with the different times on each thing. And so this is what I do for that. And it just kind of goes through there, and I give them examples of like, okay, so now you're on this initiate conversation and add followers. What does that even look like? For a new coach, for you to say, go add followers, they're like, what the heck does that mean? So I kind of go into that on here. This is a longer tutorial video that I kind of encourage them to play for the first couple weeks while they're doing their power hour. So down here is just, again, some of my favorite apps. Y'all can screenshot that if you want, but I have them fill out those, and they, just make sure they download some of those. And then the very last thing, they're just, again, making sure they have messaged me now. So I'm like literally walking them step by step by step. So they know, follow me here, send me a message here, make sure you're added into this group, and make sure you're in a challenge group, all the things. So that the way they know kind of what to do from there. Sorry, that was long-winded, but that's kind of just step-by-step what I do. So once they do that, they submit their form. I've seen them request all the pages, and now they've messaged me on Facebook, which is where I primarily communicate with my coaches. My customers, I keep in my email. My coaches, I keep in Facebook Messenger, and we chat there, and then I schedule a one-on-one call with them. So I don't do anything until they have done that. And then I do usually ask them, do you want to get on a one-on-one call now, or would you like a couple days to kind of get into doing a power hour to see if you have any questions, and then we can have a call? Because a lot of times, if they haven't even printed that, or they haven't even done anything with it yet, then they get on that call and they're kind of like, hey, okay, yeah, they don't have any questions. So I like for mine to come. My time is precious. I have 3 kids under 4, so like I need for them to come to me with questions so that I can mentor them. So if they're not ready for that, then I do ask them, spend a couple of days doing your tracker, send it to me every day, and then Friday, let's get on a call, and that usually helps. So this has been my most condensed version of New Coach Quick Start, and it's been awesome. They can still do it within in a day. It's not like 14 days where they're like, oh my God, there's so much information. So, they now go into the last thing that I do with my new coaches that has been special this year is they go into a Facebook group, and they get to stay there for 3 months. So now my next one is like April, May, and June, and it's only new coaches within those 3 months. And so they come there, and every Wednesday night, 8:30, we have a little 30-minute mastermind call. It's just kind of quick start things, best ways to build their business. They can ask questions. And then the last Wednesday of the month, we do an Emerald webinar. And that's been a really awesome way, not only for me to just get, a lot of good FaceTime with them, but also for my coaches who have their coaches coming in, for them to also get to be a part of that, and then pull them on to co-host the webinar with me, or co-host a little quick start call. So super long answer, but that's what I do with my new coaches.
Thank you so much.
Does that answer your question?
Yep, it's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Seriously, like mic drop right there. Like that was, my mind is blown. That was so smart, so good. All the details.
It's really simple, but it really does help. Like, I almost feel like I'm holding their hand a little bit, but I'm like, do this, then do that. Because then I can also, what helps with that too is when I get those questions, like just today I had a question. She's like, can you tell me what Success Club is? And I was like, did you do your quick start? Go back to that form real quick, because I put a video in there that was like 6 minutes long about that. And they're like, oh, you're right. So it does help a little bit to kind of hold them accountable too, and kind of, make sure that they're doing their stuff.
Wow. So good. Okay, guys, what other questions do you have?
I have one, and I just feel like it'll be different for everyone. I'm also a mom of 3. Hi.
Oh, get it.
And my youngest is 1, and then my oldest is almost 8, and then I have a 4-year-old. And I'm just curious, how many focused power pockets and hours do you do, like with your husband? Kind of, what does that look like? Because my partner's really supportive as well, and I have this safe zone, but you know, I have big goals and our team is pushing for big goals this year. And so I'm curious what it looks like kind of a day in life. You have certain days that you focus on, you know, your follow-ups, your invites, just kind of how does that look like for you?
Mm-hmm. Good question. Yeah, it changes all the time. Obviously, it's kind of throwing a wrench in things right now because of the crazy time we're in. My husband actually does still work. He was out of a job for like a year, and our Beachbody salary carried us during that time. That was like 2 years ago. And during that time, it kind of gave him time to find a job that he really liked where he can work virtually. So he is home, but he also still does work, but he's super supportive. And we usually kind of work around times to say, hey, I've got a call. Can you watch the kids, you know, during this time? And a lot of times that's like afternoons or early mornings. But we've kind of just, it's such a group. So I'm a big morning person, and not really by want, it's kind of by choice. I have to in order to get stuff done. So I generally am up by like 4:30 every morning. And I get like a good 3-hour chunk of time in there. And so that's when I'm like hardcore, like responding to all my emails, responding to all my messages, you know, really kind of going through my checklist of, and that is what it is. You know, I start with my morning routine. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I'm like really big on my morning routine. So I get my coffee and I sit down, and in that morning, like before I do anything, even though I'm always tempted to go straight, you know, straight to Instagram and like look at my messages and things, I know that my mind can be filled with comparison. It can be filled with answering questions. It could be a DM from somebody that I don't really want to get. And so I always start my morning with other stuff first. So I do my devotion, I read my personal development, I listen to a podcast, I journal. One of the things that I do every morning is I draw a line down my paper, you know, down like 5 lines of my paper, and I write 5 affirmations on one side and 5 gratitude statements on the other. And then I kind of like write a statement for my day of, you know, like I am a patient mother, I'm a confident leader, and I am capable of greatness, you know, something like that I kind of speak over my day. And then I get into my work, and I work all the way up until my kids are up. So every year it's been different. Sometimes I used to try to work out when my kids were sleeping, but now that they're older, they can kind of play, they play with the baby. So that's one of the things that I'm okay sacrificing a really nice focused workout to be one with the kids all crazy, because my work time is more important. I bring on a lot of coaches every month. I bring on a lot of challengers every single month. So I'm constantly having to talk to people and email back and message back. And so that's my morning time. My morning time is where I am mentoring my coaches. I am in my groups, in my threads, in my emails, and really trying to clear all that out by the time one of my 2 little people come in running in the door of my office. And then usually I put that down, and I don't really work again until nap time. Maybe during lunchtime, you know, right now we'll do like focus time with the kids where they can, you know, watch a little show or they can play their iPad. And during that time, you know, usually I will have my phone and I'll do like Instagram. So Instagram is usually my last thing that I get to, because that's something I can do while I'm sitting. That's something I can do on with the kids when they're not doing anything, and I can quickly answer some messages. And then at night is when I do a lot of my calls. A lot of my team still works full time. So I will work, you know, I have to do calls at night, which is not great, but right now I do about anywhere from 2 to 3 calls a week at nighttime. And then the other days are not. So, you know, and it's looked different in every single season, but I think the one thing that has helped me to know what I need to do is really like on Sundays, I brain dump everything. I look at the week ahead. I know that I'm speaking on this call on Thursday. I know that I've got a team call on Thursday about such and such. You know, I know when everything is, so that way I can brain dump it all out. And then I break it into my days. I literally pull apart different things for each day. The afternoon time is kind of like when I go to nap time, the kids are having quiet time, and I get a good, you know, 1.5 to 2 hours. That's when I do my projects. So I might be creating a new Google form or a PowerPoint for a call or something like that, or graphics. And that's kind of during that time when I do that, because I'm usually kind of like a little bit more brain dead by then. And I need something like creative and fun. So that's when I do that. And then the morning time is all my emails and messages and things like that. But so really brain dumping, pulling it apart into days and kind of breaking it out, and always starting my morning with that non-negotiable stuff. Because I know that if I start with my morning routine and I get emails and messages done, I still feel accomplished. Like even if my kids don't nap, or even if I can't get a babysitter over or whatever, you know, I know that I've at least still done like the most important things. So I don't know if that helps or not, but it really communicating with your spouse too. And, you know, that's something that has had to happen all the time with us, is just kind of like, even now my husband's like, babe, you're working a lot. I'm like, I know, I just have like so many people and so many things to do. And so we kind of just, we work around that and we figure out when can my unplugged time be, and we leave the phones away, and that all that kind of helps, just the same stuff that you guys know that you hear about from every other person. It's going to look different for so many people, but and don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're in a season where you really have some big goals, you're not going to be able to do it all alone, especially if you have kids. So ask for help from your spouse. Pay a babysitter, invest in your business by paying to have someone come help you. If you have, like my sister will come over. My sister's over right now helping me out with my kids. She's been quarantined next to us. So, things like that can help too. It's not ideal, but if you have goals in your business, this is the short term, right? You're building and being aggressive with your goals in the short term so that long term you can have the life that you want. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What else? Anything else?
A question.
Hey,
So that Google form was everything. Thank you so much. That's my Saturday project. But I did have a question off of that kind. I didn't see like any like how to go Emerald training. Is that something that you host all for, or do you have a separate form that you kind of give them after those things are complete?
So after I used to do that, and they would get very overwhelmed because there was no communication with me necessarily right up front about what that was. So in the beginning, like this quick start is literally that. It's like, hey, you want to get started? Bam, this is what you're going to do. And now we get on a one-on-one. We talk about those things. And on that one-on-one is when I talk about Emerald. And I have a little PowerPoint that I use to do that, to kind of go through different steps. Like I make sure, like in my one-on-one, I'm making sure they've got their personal development chosen. And a lot of times they'll be like, I'm reading this devotion. And I'm like, okay, great. I love Jesus too, but we have to do more than that. Because a lot of times they'll be like, that's my personal development. I'm like, no, it's not. I love you, but we can love Jesus for like that time, but then you also have to build your mind up. So, I give them a list of personal development books that are awesome. And then we talk about Emerald, and we talk about kind of making sure they're in the next couple of steps. And then, like I said, too, on our quick start calls, every Wednesday they're hearing about Emerald. Every Wednesday they're hearing about the other quick start things that need to happen. I have a PowerPoint that I use for that every single week. And then on the last week of the month is when we do like a quick, like 15 minutes to Emerald, and anyone who goes Emerald gets like a little prize, and we just kind of make it fun. So they're getting all the talk about Emerald in other ways. Just not in that quick start form, because that's not my main priority. I don't want them to think about that right then. I want them really just to get started and feel like they've done it. Because all of them, Instagram's so big right now that they come in and they're like, what do I do with my Instagram? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm like, no. You don't need to focus on that. Yes, let's make sure we can see your face, not your dog. And then make sure like your profile doesn't say like, I'm a Beachbody coach. And, let's make it a little bit more, I'm here to help so-and-so. And that helps a lot. And then we kind of go into all the nitty gritty stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if you can hear me. My Wi-Fi is
you're a little bit slow, but I can kind of hear
you. What's your typical Emerald? Okay.
I think you're asking me what my typical Emerald gift is. I see it in the chat. So is that your question? Is that her question? Yes? Okay. So it was like slow motion.
Yeah.
So for my Emeralds, it's like all wrapped up. I wish I had one with me. They get like a little pair of socks with a necklace. It's an anchor, is kind of like my symbol that I use for my team. So it has a little anchor on it and comes like in a little box. And I put a little pair of socks with it, a little Amazon gift card, and I write them like a handwritten note. So something very, very simple. And if it's during like a promotional kind of thing where I'm like doing a big push and all the girls are working to Emerald, and sometimes I'll throw in like a little tank or something like that just for fun. But simple, but it's something that really kind of, they feel almost like inducted into the team because everyone has their little anchor necklaces. So yeah. I'm looking at the questions to see if there's any questions. Yeah, I can share, let me make myself a note, otherwise I will forget, but I will share with Sydney the form and the PowerPoints if you guys would like. I'm totally fine with that. If that would be
totally
helpful.
Random question.
Yeah, totally.
So in the very beginning, you were talking about how you had been invited to the coaching opportunity several times, didn't know what they were talking about. They were inviting you. How were they inviting you that you didn't really understand what they were talking about? Is my question, because I feel like I get a lot of coaches that kind of are in that same boat. I'm like, well, are you telling them what we do, or how are you inviting them?
Yeah, well, the two girls that kept hammering me over and over again before I joined with the girl that I ended up joining with, which I'm so glad I waited, obviously. Wish I would have started sooner, but glad I joined the team that I did. It was like their page and what they shared about had nothing to do with what they were doing, but it was like they were inviting, right? Like then they're like, here's a webinar, join this group. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I don't see anything on your page about that at all. So I get really fired up about that and passionate with my team, because I'm like, you guys, the two go hand in hand. Like if you get me talking about Instagram, I'll just go off on a railing. But they, you know, a lot of times I think newer coaches they get excited and they just want to start inviting, or they're scared to invite, but they invite anyways. And then like their page, like their storefront shows nothing about what they're actually doing. So, you know, I'm always reminding them in our, like, that's like one of the big things that we hammer over and over and over again in our quick starts, in our new coach stuff from the very beginning of a new coach, you know, growing up into the team, is really reminding them that their social media, it's their storefront. Like, I don't want them to worry about all the frilly stuff, but if they're not showing every single day in their stories and in their feed that they are, you know, working on their health, that they're on a journey, that they're doing all these little things, that when they go to invite and they're not showing any of that, and their people have never seen them make a shake or talk about the benefits of it, they've never seen them do a workout, they've never seen them with like a cute little boomerang of their Zoom screen, like if they've never seen that, then they're gonna be like me and have no idea what in the world they're being invited to. And it's also gonna make them frustrated. It's gonna make them feel like they're inviting and no one's joining them. And so that's an easy way to go back. And I'm like, hey, do you remember when we talked about how your page is a storefront? I'm looking at your page right now and I'm looking at your stories, and I haven't seen you share once about personal development, about your workouts, about anything. And I constantly am giving them reminders of how to do things. And, you know, I know everyone doesn't have time to share all their workout clips or share snapshots of their personal development. That's totally fine. I always kind of remind them there's so many ways to do that, but you just have to share, like share super imperfectly. I actually went back to some of my posts that I made when I was a new coach the other day, because my page now is like, you know, it's clean and it's pretty and I've got lots of followers, and I'm like, you guys, but look at what I was sharing when I was a new coach. It's ugly, it's cluttered with words and pictures, but it doesn't matter. I still shared consistently, and people still saw that what I was inviting them to, I was also doing. I wasn't just talking to talk, I was actually walking the walk. And that's one of the most important things that we talk about for that situation.
Thank you. No, I love it, because I tell my team all the time, and I feel like new coaches get frustrated because they're like, well, I sent out like 20 invites and everybody said no. And I'm like, well, if I go to your page, nothing, like you have not posted a single thing about health and wellness. Nobody knows what you're talking about. So
yeah, it just takes constantly, I know, it takes like constantly forming them. And a lot of times, you know, they'll try to, like I have a new coach that I just had a mentorship call with the other day, and they'll share like 2 clips of their workout and they're like, want to join me? Join my group. Put your email here. And they're like, wait. I'm like, no, you didn't connect with them. So, you know, my big thing is all about storytelling. So I'm always kind of reminding them, if you're going to share your workout clips, tell a story with it. Like if you watch my stories, I have, you know, maybe 5 or 6 little slides of workouts or like a couple collage pages or whatever, but I tell a story with it. Like I tell maybe why it was hard to work out that day and what I overcame to do it. And then you know, I ask them questions, you know, are you needing accountability, or like, do you just need somebody to like dig your heels into right now and just let out, you know, find your fight in, you know, with boxing or whatever it is, but telling a story and reminding them of that too. You know, I tell them to kind of step back and look at that. If you were someone else, if I had shared that, would you have wanted to join me? Like, would you have wanted to swipe up or put your email in? And a lot of times they're like, well, no, because I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, exactly. So kind of asking them to kind of put themselves in their shoes of would they have wanted to join you if you had shared like that, or vice versa, you know, if they see you sharing in a different way. A lot of times I can kind of help them too, to be like, oh, you're right. Like, that's why I joined you, because I really resonated with that story. I still remember that story, you know, deck of things that you shared. And that's why I connected with you. And that's why I wanted to join that group or whatever. So that can help.
I have a question.
Hey, Ashley. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's off what Courtney just said.
So when you do, so if and when you do kind of sneak peeks into or behind the scenes into coaching, how do you do them? Because I know some people we do the webinars, or we do private groups on Instagram, or we do the 5-day trainings on Facebook. Where do you feel you have the most success with, and what kind of your groove is with that?
Yeah, this has changed this year too, because I started getting bored. So I realized that other people must be getting bored also, you know, like if I'm bored, then I don't put as much energy into it. I'm not as consistent with it. And then my team is not, therefore. So this year I went back to just doing webinars. I co-hosted it with one of my coaches, you know, another one of my diamonds, or a coach who's just really stand out. And so what we do is I host a webinar. So we share about it, and it's made it also really easy and simple, because we save it and it becomes a link that is easily sendable. So every single month I host a webinar. I actually only do one a month. I used to do more than that. You know, there's been all different seasons of my journey as a coach, but I just do one a month. And so I do a webinar with a coach of mine. We talk about the business opportunity and, you know, just all the basic, like, this is how you get started. This is what we do, what we're not, what we are, things like that. And so then I save it. But what has been really awesome is that, you know, I'm promoting that whole week. I'm talking about it, especially when I'm sharing in my stories or whatever. And I have the link to the webinar. And so what I teach my coaches to do is I give them a Google form, and it's just really simple. Like, hey, are you excited to learn more about like what being an influencer on my team looks like? Drop your name and email here, and then they can create a copy of that form. So all my coaches have that form. They have that, they can make it, they can put it in their link tree or their bio or whatever on Instagram. And so they're able to use that. And what I do is I'm teaching them obviously to collect emails, and it makes it really simple for them to have a follow-up process. So they will, you know, make the form, they post it, they're sharing all that week, they're getting that. And then once they get those people that fill out that form, they send them the link to the Zoom. We all hop on that night. We come with our glass of wine or whatever. We talk for an hour about coaching. We take a little boomerang at the end, and then we save it and we let them know, obviously reach out to your coach that added you or whatever. And so after that, then about a day after, I send them all an email, a follow-up of, hey, you know, what did you think about the webinar? Do you have any questions? And I kind of give them like a little bit of a deadline with an incentive if they are wanting to get joined in. And then I, you know, share that email with my team. So they have that email to send with everyone else. It makes it super easy. They all have the link. And so they send that, you know, that webinar link out. They also can share about it on social media. Hey, did you miss our happy hour last night? No worries, you know, send me a message and I'll send you a DM with the link to the webinar. And so it's just a super easy, duplicatable way to do it. And it's been something that has been really fun. We keep it on the same day every single month. The whole team gets excited about it. Everyone, it's very easy for everyone to duplicate, to do that. And then I usually will pull on, you know, 3 or 4 coaches at the end to just share a quick little snippet and answer 3 questions, you know, about like, how did you get started? What was one of your biggest fears about getting started? And if you could say anything now to somebody who's thinking about coaching, what would it be? And I let, you know, a couple coaches who are really kind of shining bright, non-diamonds, share a little bit of their journey at the end of it. So it's been something that's worked really, really well. And our team's signing up a lot of coaches with it. So very easy to duplicate. But before that, I used to do the like week-long Facebook groups, the 3-day long Facebook groups, the event pages. I mean, I've done all the things. This right now, I'm like, how can I work smarter, not harder? And this has been an easy way to do that. Very duplicatable and very simple for people, with not overwhelming them, not having them to scroll through all the different posts and things like that. You know, it's just very, very simple.
Awesome. I love it. One more question about it. Sorry. Do you have like your beautiful face just talking the whole time, or are you putting up like PowerPoints during that time where you're giving them information to read over while you're talking?
I have a PowerPoint. I'll pull it up while we're talking, but yeah, I have a PowerPoint, and it's just simple. I found that people do enjoy, you know, people are visual, right? So they do want to see what that looks like. It just helps a little bit for them to be able to follow along and see all the little bits of it. So, whoever has the next question can ask, but I'll try to find it really quick so I can show you. I'm so visual, so it helps a lot to be able to see.
Ashley, I have a really quick question. So, do you have an assistant? And if so, what do you have your assistant do? And at what point in your business did you decide that it was helpful?
I'm a big control freak, and I had a really hard time with getting an assistant. But let's see, gosh, how long have I had an assistant for? Probably probably 2.5, maybe 3 years now. I went far too long without an assistant. So if you're at a time where you're feeling overwhelmed, get one. It's the best investment you will ever make. And they are there not to take away, like for me, it was a pride thing. I was like, well, but if I get an assistant, then I don't get to do anything. And then I'm like, okay, just kidding. There's a lot of other things to do. So, an assistant is really there to help you take away the little mindless things that really don't matter if you do that. Like there's some people who put an assistant for everything. They do all their messaging, all their emails, everything. And that's totally fine. Like that's their thing. And then there's other people who have it maybe just for graphics or just for check-ins in their challenge group. And so I went a long time without having that help. And I would be so stressed out and so overwhelmed and feel like I was working all the time and it wasn't worth it. So for me, I found the little things that I needed help with, like scheduling out posts in my challenge group so that I didn't have to spend an extra hour on Sunday night to do that. Just little things like that. And now, obviously they help with graphics. I kind of have an automated email system that works for some things, so that they fill out a form, they get that first email, and then I start talking with them after that. So just little things like that. But, if you're at a point where you're asking that question and you're like, I don't know, I feel like I've kind of got a lot of stuff, and even if it's for 5 hours a week, it will literally just help so much. Like no one needs to be sitting and spending hours on graphics or things like that, because it's taking away time that you could be connecting with people and loving on people. So that's how I see it, at least. Oh, where I found my assistant. I don't even know how I found her. Maybe she reached out to me or somebody told me she has an assistant like system now. I can put her, I'll send Sydney her like link or whatever. But her name's Angela, and she basically pairs people with assistants as well. And you can tell her your rate, tell her how many hours, do you want to pay them weekly or hourly, or what are you looking for? And then she trains them for you. And then, you get to benefit from that and choose. Yep.
Awesome. Oh yeah. Where did you order your necklaces for your emeralds?
That's a great question. I honestly think they're from Amazon. I think they're just like little rose gold anchors. They're like nice quality. It's got to be somewhere besides Amazon. I'll look and see, and then I'll let you guys know. Again, another note to write. Necklaces.
You are the best. Okay, we have time for about one last question. Anything else?
I can share the PowerPoint. You guys want me to share
let's
happy hour? Okay.
Let's do that. Share your thing and we'll end with that.
Okay, cool. Okay, it's like really basic, y'all. Okay, so this is like the little happy hour. I talk about what we're not. I talk about what our goal is as a team. I talk about what a day in the life of what we do is. I go deep into like, starting with our journey, self-love, sharing that love with other people, and then spreading it, as a coach. A day in the life, I obviously dive way deep into all these things. We talk about the vital behaviors and kind of just in a very simple way explain what that tracker is. I show, that part of our daily routine is sharing our journey, not just Beachbody. And I show a couple snippets of people so they can see that, our Instagram is not a bunch of workout selfies. It's a whole lot of life and other things. Reminding them of what our team provides so they know that they've got awesome resources and things like that. Talk a little bit about money. We don't go super into that, but we do let them know there's money potential, right? Of course. And then we just kind of talk about other things that are about the team, talk about trips and vacations and little things. What would that look like for them to get started, that they would come in and do their quick start, get into our little mentorship training, and then any extra questions. So it's like super, super basic as far as visuals go, because it's not a bunch of words. I don't want them focusing on all the words. And I've done other ones in the past where like I'm a super wordy person, if you haven't already noticed, as I just talk too much. But I used to put too many words and too much information, and I realized that that's not the main thing. They want to come into learning about coaching and know, can they trust you? Are they going to be supported? Are they going to thrive in your team because you are going to show up with them? That's really the root of it. They're not wanting to know how much money am I going to make and what about this and what about that. They're not wanting to know all that stuff. You might get, a random bird here or there that does want to know all that stuff. But the main people, they come in, they just want to know, are you somebody that they can trust? And are you somebody that's going to mentor them and be there with them? And so this has just been so duplicatable. This year has really been about trying to create very duplicatable resources for my team and collaborating with other leaders on our team for us to all push them out to the whole entire downline, and for it just to be very, very basic, so that even the newest of coach can come in and see, here's this video pinned to the top of our page. This is what we do with new coaches. When you're ready, make a copy of this form, and here you go. Here's your email. Here's this, and you're going to send them this. And it's just step by step by step. And it's been really awesome.
So good. Okay, we had one more question in the chat. Does your whole team use a 3-month new coach mastermind group, or do you encourage them to run their own?
Yeah, it kind of just depends. Like I have a couple star diamonds, you know, like 7 and 8 star diamonds who have their own group, and they run it like with their team. But then I have a couple who are like 2 or 3 star diamonds, and then diamonds. All my girls just put it into there. You know, we have gone through a couple different years of like where everyone wanted to do their own thing, and then realizing, but we can all still have our own spin on it and still come together. You know, there's so much power in numbers. And I don't know, I can't remember what ranks you guys all are, but there'll be a time in your business where it's kind of like, do we all separate and do our own thing, or could we really be better together and still have our own spin on stuff, but really collaborate and be, you know, think of things even better. You know, I'm not somebody who's really good at making things very slim down and concise. I have a coach who is, and she's one of my 5-star Diamond Elite coaches. And so she has brought that into our team. And we all have like really been able to kind of pull apart things and create really duplicatable resources with all of our different ideas. And that's helped a lot. So I personally have all my PS coaches in mind. And that way I'm able to have other coaches lead, you know, that way we can keep consistent weekly calls every single Wednesday. I'm not hosting it every single time, but I'll be on and I'll be supporting. But, you know, I've got my other girls, 2 of them every single week, who are hosting if I'm not hosting that first week. So it's just helped. It's helped with also kind of growing up some leaders and things too.
Love it. Seriously, Ashley, thank you so much. Like, this was
You're welcome.
gold. We would love to have your forms if you'll send me those.
Absolutely.
And seriously, like, we just appreciate you taking your time out of your 3 kids and joining us today. It's so
much needed breaks. So don't worry.
We'll take you anytime we can get you then.
Moms, what? No,
Love it. Love it. Okay.
Thanks,
Sounds
you guys.
good. Well, thank you.
That was helpful.
Yes. And I will see everyone next week.
Awesome.
Okay,
bye,
bye-bye.
you guys.